Hello, everyone. This is Domina Sofia here at Domum Sapientiae, the House of Wisdom. And I am coming to you today as your godmother of Affluent, Rich, and Wealthy Romance. Yes, she's back. Not that I ever went away, and trust me, we're still working in the space of Affluent, Rich, and Wealthy Romance over here in the temple, but I'm bringing back my nickname. The goddess mother of affluent, rich, and wealthy. I'm either the godmother of affluent, rich, and wealthy romance or the goddess mother, depending on which goddaughter you talk to or goddess daughter you talk to. I'm sitting here and I'm kind of laughing because I'm working on something in reference to the courtesan. And if you've been following me long enough here on YouTube, you know the courtesan. That's my chick, right? I love the courtesan. The energy, the mindset, the frequency, who she represents, the frequency and essence of a woman who has declared her truth, who knows herself. Because once again, when I discuss the courtesans, I'm only discussing the best of the best. Women that understood the lifestyle, women understood why they chose that particular. It was a profession. It was definitely a profession, but it was a profession that kind of enveloped what they were doing in addition to. Because most courtesans, because a lot of you study the courtesans, I know this for a fact because I received some emails in reference to them, and then conversations I have with the goddess daughters. The courtesans are fascinating. These were women that chose to live outside of social norms, and they did so. Sometimes it wasn't initially willingly. They came up from, hard times, but they're also ones that came from wealthy families. And they chose the profession of a courtesan because it did just what was available to them as a wife was terrible. Very limited, um, lack of education. Most wives are not trained up to be, we weren't allowed to read. They weren't allowed to study math or science because that was supposed to be, for the boys. But most women who were courtesans, especially the really great ones, they were highly intelligent women, well read, intelligent. They had the ability to, once again, some of them spoke multiple languages. They were well versed in whatever particular trade they were coming out of before they became the courtesan, because most of them are usually doing something prior to becoming a courtesan. Yes, some of them did come out of the brothels, definitely. And once again, I'm going to say this out loud once more. The courtesans, the truly, truly, truly great courtesans, was there sex involved? Yes, there was. But was that all they did? No, no. Because if we're talking about wives, also, I mean, talking about sex work, wives could be looked at on that as well, because there are so many women that have to use their bodies to negotiate to receive what they desire from their husbands. Those terms and conditions, some of these marriages are insane. And her body is always part of the bargain. But with the wife, you got all the extra duties that come along with the man, because once again, he's in the house with you. Here, you are responsible for him, or so he thinks. Oh my gosh. But the courtesan, like I said, for those that did come upon the brothels, when they got to higher positions, that wasn't all they did. And the ones who were able to parlay into the higher echelons of the courtesan to get there, they had to do more than just know how to lay on their back. They were well read, they understood politics, they understood personalities, they understood men and the personalities and mindset of men, and not just average men. They were dealing with the wealthiest of the wealthy. And if you spend time with, not even going to say really successful men, I mean seriously successful men, how they speak, how they think, what they're doing is way different than most men. Because to reach the levels of success that they have obtained, you have to be doing something completely different than the crowd. And understanding how to be present with these men and hold your space, hold your ground, so to speak, that's a skill set. and they learned it. And for those that did not come out of the brothels, they came out of other professions. We had scholars, we had philosophers, authors, scientists, dancers, um, musicians, singers, artists. Gosh, I can go down the entire list. Coco Chanel, she was a courtesan initially. She was clothing, fashion. She was, what was I think she was a milliner before. She made hats before she started making clothing. So they came out of the world of fashion as well. What I'm saying is this: you can come from any walk of life that you choose. It is the energy, essence, and the mindset of the courtesan that I'm discussing with you. Because the courtesan, she represented freedom. The really great ones. And I'm talking about the ones who understood how to navigate and were great strategists in their lifetime. Because everything that we do in the world has great moments, it has some perilous moments, it has some moments, but it is your ability to navigate these, the strategies behind them that will elevate you or destroy you. And the best courtesans elevated. And they had the capacity to stay relevant into their 60s, 70s, and some of them into their 80s. There's one in particular, I think, no, Ninon. I don't have, never can pronounce her last name because I can see it, but I'll never think of pronunciation. But her first name is Ninon. And she was, I adore her because she was so self-aware that she was a courtesan, like in the scene, do the whole thing, da, 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 da. And one day I was like, I'm done, and left, was gone for a while. And when she came back, the men were like they were starving for her. It's like, where'd you go? Why did you leave us? Oh my God. And when she came back, she was busier than ever. And she was older. And she was the one who, there was this young man that was just, oh my God, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over her. And, she was like, oh, that's so sweet. And she told him, like, you know what? If you're still around on my 80th birthday, I will take you on as my lover. Notice I said 80, 80. And she was around for her 80th birthday. So on her 80th birthday, he was still around, hoping and waiting for his opportunity. She took him on as her lover. And I believe she was also the one that only kept her lovers for like a year. And she also had like groups of men that had particular tasks in her world. And some of them in her world, they never had access to her physically. And she had well, she told them, I choose my lovers. She may choose one that's super ultra wealthy, or in the case of that young man, he wasn't wealthy. I forget what he did. I don't know if he was an author or painter, or I don't know what the youngin did. But whatever it was, she made the decision as to who she was going to spend time with in her bedroom. And this kind of control, this kind of power, this kind of knowing, you can also have, just so you know. But it's only possible if you know who you are. And this is why I believe the courtesan is such a popular topic, because oh my God, I've done so many videos, audios in reference to the courtesan. And I've taught, I've got plenty of, in the archives, sit several classes on the courtesan. And right now I'm working on something, but it's private, so it's not going to make it to the public. But I'm looking at this, and this one is an immersion where they're actually going to be learning how to be the courtesan. And remember, this has nothing to do with sex. I have to keep putting it out there because some of your brains get a little twisted. I'm not saying of you directly, but some people do. They're like, "Oh, that shit is sex work." Like, grow up. 'Cause at least she got paid. She got paid well and compensated. Not even just paid, she got compensated incredibly well for just the pure pleasure of spending time with her. If it involved some wonka wonka, as I call it, the wonka wonka, if it involved that, she was well compensated for that opportunity. Remember, they had some of the best jewelry collections in the world. These women had jewelry collections that flippin' rivaled queens and empresses. which was possible because some of their clients, some of their benefactors, I'm gonna call them clients, some of their benefactors and patrons were the husbands of these queens and empresses. But anyway, that's besides the point. Just saying, she had the ability to curate absolutely dynamic relationships. And when she was empowered and knew herself, because the ones who struggled were the ones that did not, that lacked self-confidence. Another reason why I love the courtesans, they're really the best of the best, was they were confident. They were confident. Some of them had great personalities. A couple of them were mean. Oh my God, they were so mean. There was two I can think of right now were just mean as, oh my God. And they were adored. They, I mean, to the point that it was so, I'm not going to go into details right now, but they were cherished and adored as well. So you had the whole gauntlet, very sweet, very elegant, very regal. And some of them, like I said, they weren't exactly the friendliest women on the planet. And then, of course, everybody in between. But it was the knowing of self and the unapologetic being of self that makes the difference. So I believe the courtesan, and once again, based upon what I've heard with the goddess daughters, what I hear in the emails I receive, is the confidence. When I'm asked, Domina Sofia, how? How can I become her? Well, one, you have to decide to be you. You must make the decision to be truthfully who you are. You must be authentic. The courtesan, no, no, there's no way you can be a successful courtesan if you were trying to act like and look like everybody else. If you're trying to imitate somebody else, nope, not happening. Not at all. Not at all. It'll never happen because it is the strength of your personality and uniqueness. That's the foundation. That is the foundation of a successful courtesan. Is she knows who she is. Are you open-minded? Are you willing to learn? Because it's a lifestyle that requires study. You have to study. It's a must. You need to, and there's so many moving parts to this lifestyle. Now let's talk about the geishas for a second. The geishas, the Oran, the Taiyu, the Japanese. The Taiyu is, I told you, was the top tier of that culture of entertainers. They studied back in the day. Right now they're coming, I think they're coming in as teenagers. Sometimes in modern day they can come in a little bit older, but back in the day when the culture began, they were coming into the geisha houses as young as 5 because they were being literally sold into the house by families who had too many daughters and needed money. So the child was coming in as young as 5, and she would study and be trained for 10 years. And even after they became like, what they call them, Makos? Yeah, Mako, I think it's Mako. Yeah, are the young, geisha in training, so to speak. She's like her first year. And then you become a geisha. They still practice and study their trade. They're still studying their instrument. They're still studying their dance. They're still studying, their singing. It never ends because the refinement is very important. So I'm sharing this with you because once again, if these are things you desire, you must be willing to study. And you must understand what you're really good at, what you're great at. One of the reasons why I'm so popular is one, we know I'm 1000% me. That's never been a doubt or any question there. I'm always myself. But it's also the fact that I have very unique interests that are mine, be it my history or my present. You know, I love music. My love of music comes from the fact that, once again, I studied classical. I was a classically trained operatic for soprano. I used to sing opera. Goodness knows I wish I still did. I'm not going to lie. I do miss the ability to do it, but that requires constant training. You have to be in front of a vocal coach daily, every day, and sometimes for hours, depending on what you're doing. Dance. Now, dance, I mean, I still love the dance, but I'm not looking to study dance again, but I studied dance. I love to read. And my reading is nonfiction. So I think I own a grand total of 5 fiction books. I don't think that many. I think it's 2 that I have right now in my collection of books. And I have hundreds of books. I have hundreds of books. There are certain topics that I am very, I have a connoisseur level of knowledge on in reference to. There are quirks to my personality that make me very appealing because it's part of who I am. It's part of me. I know some of you get annoyed because of the fact that, I use spicy language. That's how I talk. That's something that's never going to change because it's part of who I am. And spicy language never says anything in reference to my lack of intelligence. Honey, I can run circle around many people. Trust me on that one. Any day, anytime. I love words. I always have. I love spicy words. I love some of the highfalutin words. I love words. They fascinate me because words are frequency. Study languages. I do study languages. I have a couple particular ones that I really love right now that I'm working on. Good gracious. But I've studied French, Spanish, Italian. Do I speak any of them fluently? Unfortunately, no, not anymore. Because once again, if you're not doing it on a regular basis, you will lose the ability to do so. But the day may come I decide to go back into the details of studying them once more. But right now, I have a couple of languages I'm working on that have my undivided attention. And I'm sharing these things with you because those are the parts of the quirks of my personality. I have zero desire to mimic someone else. I can appreciate other people. I've said before, there are women whose content on social media, like on Instagram, I love to see. I love what they're doing. I love that they're in their truth because that's important. But I have no desire to be them or imitate them. Every now and then I run across a great product that they're sharing that I'm like, I'll give that a try. But to be them, oh no, no, no. Because my special sauce is me, just like your special sauce is you. One of the reasons why I'm doing the general patronage for the temple right now, you have the two options. You have to join as part of the opulent woman path, where we're once again really working on identifying, honoring, and then devoting yourself to really being. Because I said before, there is no becoming. Becoming, excuse me, means you are still striving and reaching for something. Honey, you already have it. You just need to uncover it and allow it to be part of who you are. So over here, we are being. We're not interested in becoming. I don't need to become anything more. I already am. It's just the acknowledgement of what parts and aspects of me I'm showcasing right now. So the opulent woman really gets into enabling you to touch those spaces within you that you may be unfamiliar with, or the ones that you are familiar with, but you may have neglected. And then also playing in the spaces that you do enjoy. And with the prayer books, the invocations, oh my God, I think I might read them for you guys toward the end of this audio. The invocations, oh my gosh, I use them. I read them because they're so soothing. They the energy of them, the frequency of them, the words acknowledge once again just how amazing you are and reminding you. And the prayer books, they're like different topics, and depending on whichever membership you get, because some of them, like the first tier, or the first, I hate calling them tiers, but the first option, they come in and they receive like one invocation that they work with for the entire month, which enables them and allows them to really be present in energy, to really make it part of who they are. And if they do, I think it's this middle option, they receive the full book. And there's like a monthly ceremony, which I think I got to do the one for this month. And then there's another option. Or you choose the path of the Muse and you learn my original 26 laws of the Muse. Now I have additional laws, but these are these are the foundation set. This is the foundation set where you're working inside of the mindset of the Muse. Remember, the muse is inspiration, and you only become inspiration when you are a personality that other people admire, enjoy, have a desire to learn from, etc. So the laws of the muse, once again, you're learning how to be in that frequency, that mindset. You're learning the language and thought process of the muse. So I enjoy those. I really, and I'm happy because we had a call at a gathering, the second gathering for this month, this past Sunday. The goddess daughters are just so beautiful. I love our gatherings because we do Google Meet and having a chance to see everyone because you're required to show yourself. I'm not one of those folks that gonna let you sit there behind it. No, if you're you can see me, I need to see you, and your goddess sisters need to see you as well. So they come in and they're beautiful. The smiles, the glowing skin, the relaxed posture and faces. Until I ask a question, the goddess daughters are here. They start laughing. Um, because they're like, oh, I gotta talk. Yes, we need you to speak. I want to hear your voice. But it is fun. We do enjoy ourselves. I usually teach. There's some kind of teaching that I offer, and then I have time once again for us to have conversation, answer questions. But this is the path of the courtesan because she was always learning. She never stopped learning. And then knowing men. She didn't just understand them, she knew them. And there is a difference between understanding men and knowing men. There is a huge gap in between that and that truth. It is one thing to understand them, but when you understand the heartbeat and spirit of a man, whole other language. And I know this once again because I've been around them all my life. I speak with the wisdom of men because I've been around men my entire life. And even more important is I actually like them. And some of them I love dearly. But I do like men. And that's important. Especially when you're learning how to move through this world and are going to be enjoying the assistance, the resources, the experience of men who have the ability to elevate your desires and dreams. And in doing so in a way that involves zero squashing of you. Because most women, I always laugh because it was, oh my gosh, listen, it was Russell Hartley. Some of you are going to laugh. You know what I'm talking about. That man, oh my gosh. He is comical as hell. He does every now and then say things that actually are very true. Other times he's just messing with people, and they take it. They'll he'll just say stuff, and he really is just fucking with the women. He is because he will say some things that you definitely knows don't no 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 no. But he's being facetious because sometimes the comments that he reads back, I understand why he probably just goes, "Are you kidding?" Because women. Once again, I have this really believe at times they really have no desire to know a man because I know women have a habit of wanting men to be what they think they should be. And I'm like, no, they're a totally different species than us. They have a whole different thought process. They think different. They are different. They are doing things different. Their hormones are different. They're just different. And different is good when you understand, excuse me, when you know them. And your knowing comes from, once again, knowing yourself. Because what happens is when you are clear about who you are, there are certain men that will have no access to you. You will not need, there will be no reason for you to shrink yourself or sell yourself short or to settle. Because women are still settling for all the disdain and the disgust in reference to men. Women are still settling. It's disgusting. And I said it just what I said. It's disgusting. Because that need to fill a gap can be so strong in some. There is no gap when you learn who you are. And once again, going back to my courtesan, the courtesan energy and frequency, she was always fine tuning self. She was open to learning new things. She had the capacity to teach. Because one of the things that made the courtesan so appealing was the fact that she was wise. Some of them are good time girls. The good time girls didn't last, just so you know. The ones that were cute and young and pretty, that just were like party girls, they didn't last. Most of them had very, very unpleasant endings in the courtesan profession because they weren't thinking for their future. They weren't building for their future. They just, I'm young and pretty. I'm like, okay, that's great. But young and pretty, if that's all you got, there's somebody younger coming in every day. It's learning how to move into the space of maturity, physically and mentally and emotionally, and learning how to work with it, because it's the wisdom that we gain over the years is what makes us so valuable to self and interesting, and very much so an asset for men who come in also, who understand who and what a woman is, what feminine energy really means. Men know on a subconscious level. They give the example of, most men want to get married because they're looking for a free maid. That is true. Unfortunately, this is very, very true. Because even some of the men that may not have like a ton of financial resources, and they manage to find a woman who will be with them, he's going to reap the benefits of her energy, because most women are doing too damn much. Trying to show the man what a great wife I'll be or what a great girlfriend I am. Ooh, look at me. I can take care of you. That's great. He needs to be taking care of you. Remember, he benefits from your overflowing pitcher. He shouldn't be benefiting from your bone dry pitcher. And you just become less and less and less. And you now are aging overnight because of the stress that you're under. A great courtesan wasn't handled with no. She had men fighting for her attention. Remember, they had to court the courtesan. Courtship was a requirement. When the top tiers ones, the ones that, like I said, were the elite of the elite, when they had a vacancy in the space for a lover, men had to compete. They had to show her. There was an example of one, I can't remember her name right now, but there was a gentleman that had decided, he found out that she had a vacancy, that she had got rid of her lover, and he wanted to take the man's place. And she told him, because money was an issue for her. She was wealthy. Remember, these men are wealthy as well, because their lovers and their benefactors and patrons were wealthy men. And they took great care of them. Houses, businesses, jewelry, money, whatever. They had everything, but they still had to come correct. And there was one, she told him, he was a general in the army, had money. He was still a rich man. And she had told him, "You want to be my next lover?" She goes, "Prove it. I need you to ride down the street, the main street, naked, on your horse. Butt naked, nothing on, naked, and I'll consider you." And you know what he did? He rode down that main street, butt naked, to let her know that he was sincere. And she did take him on. Are you listening? For those that keep saying men don't, yes, they do. If they want you bad, yes, men know how to act. I'm not gonna lie. They know how to act. They know. They know. They know. I know they know. I've known men all my life. And the courtesan made the men work for her attention. When she was holding her salons, not you had to have a certain level of prestige to be invited into her space. You had to be bringing something in addition to your money. The money wasn't, and the gifts. It had to be more than just the money. Who did he know? How was he beneficial? How was he going to enhance her life? Because when she would put together her salons and bring these men together, that's an art. And the goddess daughters that were participating with me in this next thing I'm working on, they're going to learn that art. That's an art. So while the courtesan is fascinating for people, she was a whole flipping village in and of herself. And she was always learning. She was always growing. She had the kind of sway she had because she, once again, she knew men. She knew what she loved. She was always learning more. She took care of herself. I'm not saying all of them did a great job because some of them, based upon some of the drug habits some of them had, but the ones that really lasted weren't into all that. They weren't drinking and doing drugs. And yes, there were drugs available back then too. Drugs have always been around. And the ones who were doing drugs, once again, their lifespan wasn't the best. Their careers didn't last long. The really wise ones, yeah, they had decades in that particular profession. So when you think in terms of the courtesan, why does she fascinate you? What parts of you would be the stepping stones to you becoming a great courtesan? Now, I'll say this once more. This has nothing to do with sex. Sex can be is part of it, yes. A small portion of it. And it should be an enjoyable part of what you're doing. Because remember, she selected her people. They weren't she had the pick. And these men had to present themselves to her for her to even desire to invite them into her bed. Why am I going to invite you into this space? What are we doing? And if he didn't do well, he wasn't invited back. Opening for a brand new one. But she would know. You would hear enough from the other people that knew these men, because these men, there weren't tons of them, and there had been obviously other people prior to her at times. And word does travel. But anyway, what aspects of you right now could you use as building blocks to become a courtesan? This could be in reference to your interest, your skills. How well do you take care of yourself? Are you somebody who actually will be at ease in opulence? Because that's important too. These women were living opulent lives. Even the ones that may not have been, into some of the more frivolous things, they were called frivolous, for example. Maybe one would prefer, I don't know, was more girly than another one, because once again, they came from a variety of backgrounds, and not all of them were girly girls. And not all of them are beautiful. Not all of them are physically beautiful. Some of them are very, very plain, and some of them were unattractive, physically unattractive women. But that goes back to, once again, your personality. Who are you? Your charisma, your magnetism. Because physical beauty is definitely can catch a person's eye, but what goes on behind the facade? What goes on behind the face or the body? See, that's where longevity comes into it. But anyway, so let me do this. Let me close with an invocation for you out of the prayer book. All right, let's close out with one of the invocations from book 1 of the Opulent Woman's Prayer Book. And this is day 20. And it literally is an invocation for the woman of fine taste. I like that. Fine taste. Ooh, it sounds so delightful. I'm going to read the oracle's notes for you. My notes. Taste is educated through devotion and refined through repetition. The woman of fine taste has trained her eye, her palate, and sensibility to recognize quality in all its forms. Fine taste is never about price, and it isn't. You'd be surprised. It's about craftsmanship. And craftsmanship, great craftsmanship does come with sometimes a hefty price tag. But anyway, I digress. It is about discernment, about the capacity to distinguish what is true and beautiful, as well as what is worthy from what merely imitates those qualities. The opulent one trusts her cultivated eye. The invocation. My choices reveal discernment and genuine grace. I prefer quality where quality truly matters. Beauty educates my eye and uplifts my spirit. Simplicity becomes exquisite in my devoted hands. I select words, garments, spaces, and company with full awareness. Cultivated taste guides me toward richer and fuller living. Elegance becomes natural through my repeated devotion. Others trust the steadiness and refinement of my standards. Prosperity gathers around my refined and intentional choices. My life becomes a gallery of truly lovely decisions. I choose beautifully in every domain, every day. And so it is. So I'm going to leave you with that invocation. That is my little gift for you guys today. Listen to it. Write it down. That is an example of one of the invocations out of one of the Opulent Woman prayer books, which is only available if you are part of the general patronage for the temple. It's the first path, the Opulent Woman. But anyway, think about the questions I asked you. Let's go with 3 qualities. If you were to choose to tap into the courtesan frequency, the essence, and to experience your life this way, what 3 qualities would be the first 3 building blocks based upon what I share with you inside this audio today? Anyway, have an awesome day and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.